Hello guys and welcome to a new episode of Sound Design. This is going to be the lead we are going to be creating today. So if you don't know what lead that is, it's the lead from Blasterjaxx and WNW called Rocket. So we are going to be creating that today. Preset will be up as always on my facebook.com/Zen World Music page. Link will be in the description. Before we get started though, I would like to announce that the Evolution of Sound podcast episode 3 is out. So hooray for that. You can find it on my YouTube or on the Soundcloud page of Zen World. I will provide the links below. Also, we have started a new thing with the Evolution of Sound. We are going to be releasing construction kits, and by that I mean we're going to be releasing songs where you can download the construction kit and you can find all the wave samples and patches from that one track. And we're going to be doing that on the Evolution of Sound. Me and a couple of people have teamed up. Some well known from YouTube that make awesome remakes like FL Studio RMK, and we are going to be teaming up and we are going to be doing something amazing with the Evolution of Sound. So if you haven't followed that page, make sure to follow it and be active on it. We are going to be releasing free sound banks, free construction kits. Construction kits are going to go from orchestral to hip hop and to EDM, so make sure to follow that. Anyways, let's get started with this tutorial, guys. So here we have the lead. First thing you want to do is lower polyphony down to 2. You can leave it at 3, but I put it down at 2. If you put the polyphony higher, it just lets you play more notes at the same time. And since this is a mono type sound, you can only play one note at a time. So what's the point of having more than 16 voices? Part B, we're going to have anything. Part A, we're going to have just simple programming, and we'll be done really fast with this sound. So polyphony down to 2, it's going to let you play. The higher it is going to let you play more voices. But since we only have 2 oscillators using 8 voices, this number stays at 16. So we're going to leave it at 2. So next thing we're going to do, we're going to go into oscillator A1 where we're going to have a simple saw wave with 8 voices. Retrig is on. What retrig does, and this is if you don't even, if you haven't watched my tutorials, retrig just restarts the phase. Whenever you play a wavetable, there's a phase on it and it just goes. So whenever you switch notes, if you take the retrig off, it's just the phase is going to keep going. But if you return it, put the retrig on, the phase goes back to 0. What happens is you get a boost in volume, or in other words, it sounds kind of mono. That's what I usually say. But the technical thing is that the phase goes back to 0, which doesn't really help that much. You're like, okay, so retrig on is gonna allow it's gonna give it a boost in volume when you play the note again, and it's gonna just make it sound a lot more mono. So usually I leave the retrig on leads that I want them to be in your face or on bass lines. So remember, retrig off with stuff like super saws and shit like that. But when it's like a sound where did you want it in your face, like this drop, leave the retrigs on. Also, another good thing about sound design is if you want your sound to be more, one sound to be more towards the outers of your stereo field, towards the your sides, and you want the sound to be in the middle, you can always leave your trigger on one, and then the sound for the sides will take the retrig off. But for this one, we're not doing anything complicated like that. We're just gonna have a simple saw, 8 voices, retune on. We go into amp envelope A. We have the sustain all the way up, releases at 1.13, attack all the way down. So it's usually at 0.05. Just lower it all the way down. No decay. In oscillator A2, we are going to be having 8 voices, saw, retrig on, and pretty much we're leaving it by default. Finally, we're going to put a bandpass, which I've talked about, and if you kind of noticed my previous tutorials, they all have a bandpass. The David Guetta and Showtek Bad lead has a bandpass. The Raise Your Hands by Omid Ozcan has a bandpass. So there's some little key things there, and a lot of times people tell me, how do you know how to make these sounds? Well, if you notice all those 3 sounds, hear them, and then you can definitely tell away it's a bandpass. You just tell the characteristics, they kind of have the same. So over time, you start seeing these things and you start saying, okay, when it sounds like this, it's kind of like a bandpass. Okay, so we have the cutoff. We're going to put it at 478.79. Resonance at 3.14. Drive at 2.29. Drive's just going to put it up. Resonance controls this part of the filter. So here you have this. This controls this thing you see here. So it kind of emphasizes the point where you're covering, where it's about to get covered. So that's kind of a neat thing to know. Filter control, we have the cutoff or master control. We're going to put the master cutoff at 38.69 Hertz, resonance at 3.43. We're going to put a little bit of key track at 0.81. Warm drive is on. We're almost done with the sound. We're going to go into mod envelope 2, just put a pitch A/B. We're going to put the black knob at 2, and we're going to add a decay of 0.11. So if you know from my previous tutorials, whenever I make a pluck, I always put the sustain all the way down and put the decay up and slowly. And the more plucky I want it, the more the decay is lower. The more of a stab I want, the higher the decay. So here, the reason we're doing it like this is because we want it to be really fast. So with a fast, really low decay, it's like it's repeating really fast, like you can barely hear it, but it's gonna make the sound a little bit more punchier, and that's what we want. So we do this thing. If you bought my sound bank on producer loops, you'll notice that most of the sounds have this, more of the big room ones. Next, we're going to LFO 1. We're going to decrease the black knob to negative 0.19 at a rate of 164. Gain is going to be set to, let's set it to 1. And then we're going to put the offset at negative 3.43. And this is going to be routed to phase AB, which is going to work with these phases. And then we're just going to see add a little bit of greediness to this with that sound with the sine wave. Next, we are going to go into LFO 2 where we are going to alter, actually, never mind. We're not doing anything with LFO 2. So just put everything back to 0. I don't even know why it's there. Let's see. Yeah, LFO 2 is not going to do anything, so no need to have it. Usually when I make these sounds, I experiment a lot, but that kind of didn't do anything, especially because the gain was down. So we go into distortion. We're going to put an overdrive filter. Distortion is another word for shape. So you give a shape to a wave through distortion. Distorted amount is 3.33, like the devil. You multiply that by 2, 666, Illuminati. Dry and wet all the way up. Chorus is set to 15.71%. Delay is at 8.80. Rate, it's all the way up. Depth of the chorus at 40%. Dual mode on. No feedback and width all the way on. Don't worry about these parameters. If you can't get them, you can always download the preset off my Facebook page if you don't want to deal with that stuff. But just to give you a quick sense of mine, there's only one chorus type in Silent 1, and you pretty much just activate it through here. Delay. Chorus delay is pretty much before the delay kicks in. How long is it going to take for the delay to kick in? The rate of the chorus depends on how fast it's going to go. The depth is just, you know, how much of the chorus is actually affecting the sound. Feedback is at 0. When you add feedback, it's really hard to explain, but, you know, like, just do it. And if you like what you get, then stick with it. If not, then no need to do it. EQ, we have a one-pole EQ. Whenever you use a one-pole EQ in Silent 1 or use any type of EQ, what happens is like instantly your 115 frequency is increased by a boost of 7.5. Your EQ treble at 3.5K is increased by 7.5. So what we're going to do is we're going to lower the EQ base gain to 6.36 dB at the frequency of 105.73 hertz. We're going to increase the gain from 7.5 to 10.07 dB at the frequency of 4124. And if you want to see that in action, you can always put a spectrum on, and then you can always, you know, just, you know, fuck with it and put the volume all the way up, and you'll see that this frequency just pop out more. Finally, we're going to go into the reverb where we are going to be applying a dry and wet of 45%. We're going to apply the reverb pre-delay at 100, which the reverb pre-delay is all it's saying, again, like the chorus. It's saying how long before the reverb kicks in. Dampness of the reverb controls a lot of the frequency the reverb is going to be in. So the higher the reverb, the more low the frequency of the reverb will be. But the lower, the more higher. So you generally, I don't put that much dampness in my reverb unless you want to muddy up shit. Reverb size at 3.83. The higher the reverb size, the bigger the reverb, the more decay you're going to get. Dry and wet, it's 545. And the width of the reverb, you want it to your sides. If you were to have it at 0, your reverb will be in the center, so you won't hear it as huge. So you usually want your width all the way up. Finally, what you can do is put the mix B all the way down, or you can just leave it by default, but I just put it down to be safe. Mix A, 6.38. And then the volume, I put it up a little to 6.15. We're going to turn mono legato on. This is very important. And we're going to put the portamento at 6.67. When you put mono legato on, what happens is you're only allowed to play one note. And once you put the portamento, then you're allowed to slide notes. And there's two modes in Silent 1. There's the normal mode, and then there's the slide. The slide is a bit more drastic, and it will allow you to play from one note to the other without having to slide. But anyways, or it might be the opposite, so don't quote me on that. But anyways, we are done with the sound, and you should be getting this. Or... So it's really portamentoed, and generally you're going to use it. You don't even need the fucking MIDI. So it's a pretty cool sound if you're looking for that type of sound. So make sure to like me on Facebook, guys. Make sure to like the Evolution of Sound page. Make sure to be active on both. I will be doing a lot of giveaways soon. So I hope you guys are ready for that. And I hope you guys are ready for some amazing things to come. With the Evolution of Sound, we are going to be starting a new YouTube page for that, and it's going to be something that I'm sure many of you guys are going to want to be involved in. So anyways, guys, thanks for tuning in. Don't forget to check out the podcast, and I'll see you guys probably this Wednesday. Peace.